Resident Evil was undoubtedly the progenitor of the horror survival genre.
It propagated having limited resources in a compact and dark environment, and you're forced to work with what you have. The original vision that came from creator Shinji Mikami was a first-person, horror-themed exploration game set in a haunted house.
But the game quickly pivoted to third-person zombies to create a more exhilarating experience.
The first 6 games adapted this third-person style, and while the tone remained consistent, the horror began to slip away and action-oriented gameplay took center focus. With this new focus, the franchise received mass amounts of intense criticism and the fans demanded change and a refocus on what a Resident Evil game truly was meant to be. While the characters were beloved, specifically Leon Kennedy, Jill Valentine, and Chris Redfield, they were too badass, and having no problem surviving in a world full of zombies seemed odd and unimpressive.
We needed to go back to Shinji Mikami's original vision to find out truly what a Resident Evil game should be.
That is when we got Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. When this was announced, the reaction was largely positive. This is what everyone finally wanted, a Resident Evil game that actually had you on your toes. Extremely limited resources, intense gore and chase sequences, and above all, a very engaging story structure. The masses were pleased with this new release from the franchise, and with a couple DLC drops, people were well fed for a couple of years.
The gaming world was finally happy that they got their Resident Evil first-person scary game.
However, many fans of the previous games, specifically Resident Evil 3 and 4, were very upset to see that the third-person element was completely removed from the franchise at this point. We got a remake of Resident Evil 3 after Biohazard and a Resident Evil 4 remake after Village.
But that wasn't enough for some fans. They wanted more. They wanted a new story that included the third-person element and previous characters.
But because of Biohazard and Village, a massive amount of new fans picked up the Resident Evil franchise for the first time and were expecting the next game to be similar to the 7 and 8. So it seems like they have a choice to make. Do we please longtime fans of the franchise and give them the third person and old characters they've been wanting to return? Or possibly gain more fans of the series by sticking with this new formula and continuing with the success and positive ratings we already have?
Well, they chose neither because instead they made both sides happy.
Resident Evil Requiem combines both of the elements that made this franchise criticized and praised. The inclusion of first and third person creates an odd amount of emotions when you're playing. You play as 2 characters, Grace, a wimpy FBI agent, and returning character Leon Kennedy, who is now older and dying of a mysterious strain of the T-virus. The game shows Grace getting captured and placed in Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center. Infested with monsters, you need to find a way to escape without getting killed. This element alone would have been great. Balanced with new monsters, the cryptic sound design and score, and overall lack of ways to defend yourself, it would be similar to the previous 2 successes and they could have called it a day. But they don't.
Instead, they add in Leon Badass Kennedy, who feels more like a cameo in the first 30 hours of the game.
Leon is chasing after the same person that kidnaps Grace, and arrives at this care center shortly after she does. Every chapter is prefaced with the name of the character you're playing and the location in which you are in. The best part about the switching mechanic is that in order to play as Leon in third person, you need to go through the absolutely terrifying monster gauntlet as Wimpy Grace in first person.
It really tests your resilience to horror and how fast you can solve this mystery of getting out of this care center.
The story being amazing adds on top of that, and it creates an amazing balance of action-oriented gameplay and controller-gripping horror. The parts as Grace would not be half as scary if they were in third person.
You have a choice whether you can choose how the camera looks in the game on your own, whether that be first or third person. But if you want the best experience possible, do what the game recommends, and you will not be disappointed. With this large clump of ideas in one game, it's really cool to see where the series has come from.
It went from a simplistic idea of a first-person game in a haunted house to exploding in popularity multiple times throughout its lifetime. The creator really is a genius when it comes to how the game is structured. There are thousands of intentional decisions for each environment to be as scary as possible, and you won't notice them because of how well they are working, scaring you shitless.
I think I should be fine. Ah! So whether you're a newer or older Resident Evil fan, did Resident Evil Requiem really do it for you? And if it did, please let me know in the comments below. But thank you for watching the video. I would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed, and I'll see you all in the next video.